Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a genuinely fascinating paradox. It is this wild clash between the hyper-modern and the ancient. On one hand, you've got the modern smart home, this marvel of absolute zero-effort convenience that literally anticipates what you need before you even do. But on the other hand, you have the ancient Jewish observance of Shabbat. It is a day entirely dedicated to stepping back and doing absolutely nothing to alter the state of the world. But here's the catch. How do you do nothing when your house is hardwired to do everything the second it senses you? Seriously, think about this for a second. If you are just walking down your hallway, right, and your body heat alone triggers the lights, the thermostat kicks on, the security cameras wake up, did you actually do work? You didn't flip a switch. You didn't press a button or yell a voice command. And yet, just by being there, your physical presence sparked this massive digital reaction. It is a crazy mystery when you think about it. How did passive physical movement suddenly become a direct command?
This totally highlights how our interaction with the physical world has flipped upside down. Think about the old world. The interface was super obvious. You took your finger and you explicitly pushed a physical button. The action was visible, it was intentional, totally undeniable. But in our new world, the interface isn't a button anymore. It is you. Your body heat, your physical proximity, that tiny Bluetooth signal constantly broadcasting from your pocket, these are now continuous, passive triggers. The boundary of where a human action ends and a machine's reaction begins has basically vanished. So to really grasp why this is such a giant puzzle for a Sabbath-observant household, we have to look at this ancient concept called malaka. Now, in English, this gets loosely translated as work, which kind of gives people the wrong idea. It makes it sound like Shabbat is just about kicking back, resting your muscles, and not breaking a sweat. But that is actually not it at all. Malaka is really about stopping creation. It is about stepping back from any action that alters the state of the world or creates a new reality. So dragging a massive sofa across the room? Exhausting, sure, but not necessarily malaka. But lightly tapping a button to complete a circuit and fire up a light bulb, that officially changes the state of the world.
And this definition of a creative act has had to sprint, literally sprint, to keep up with our tech. Back in 1879 with Edison's light bulb, rabbis were debating if closing an electrical circuit was like building a fire. Then skip ahead to 1975 with the early X10 home automation systems. Fast forward again to 2011 with thermostats that actively learn your daily habits. And by 2014, we've got voice assistants just constantly listening for a wake word. The very definition of a creative act has had to evolve exactly as fast as the gadgets we buy. Which brings us to this incredible paradox. Your body is a button. Picture a Friday evening. Candles are lit, dinner is ready, smartphones are totally put away, and the family steps into this sacred, unplugged time. In a traditional house, you would just not touch the light switches. Simple. But in a smart home, the house actively refuses to ignore you. Just by walking into the kitchen for a glass of water, you become a walking remote control. You are inadvertently flipping invisible switches everywhere you go. Let's actually break down the hidden plumbing of that simple walk to the kitchen. Step 1. You walk in. Seems harmless. But step 2, a sensor picks up the infrared heat radiating off your body. Step 3, a local controller grabs that data and zips it over to a cloud server, which might be sitting in a data center 1,000 miles away, literally just to turn on a light bulb 3 feet in front of your face. Finally, step 4, the server shoots a command back, the lights fade up, and a permanent digital log of your movement is stamped into a database. All of that electrical and digital creation happened just because you took a step.
What is wild is that ancient scholars actually kind of saw this coming. They had this concept called psychresha, which basically means an inevitable consequence. And the logic here is totally bulletproof. If a secondary result of your action is 100% guaranteed to happen, you can't just throw your hands up and say you didn't intend for it. So if you open a smart fridge just to grab a snack, but you absolutely know that opening the door is going to fire up an LED light and wake a digital touchscreen, you can't say you only wanted the food. The reaction is guaranteed, which means the action is yours.
And let's be real, our environments today are absolutely packed with these inevitable triggers. Your phone's Bluetooth is sitting in your pocket, automatically waking up the smart lock as you walk up to the door. Your literal body heat and the carbon dioxide from your breath are tweaking the room's thermostat algorithm. Even casual chit-chat at the dinner table might drop a word that accidentally wakes up a smart speaker and kicks off a recording. You step out for some fresh air, and suddenly the porch camera boots up and saves a video. Your house just never stops watching. Which leads us directly into our next huge complication, because it is not just about lights flicking on or motors spinning up. We have to talk about the invisible digital record. The thing about modern devices is they don't just react in the moment, they remember.
Every single movement is logged, it is timestamped, synced up, and locked away in an app or on a cloud server.
And this maps flawlessly onto two more ancient prohibitions, katev and moshek. Those are the rules against writing and erasing. Now, in the ancient world, writing obviously meant taking a quill and ink to some parchment. Today, nobody is holding a pen. But when a Ring camera captures your face and writes a brand new video file to an Amazon server, or a door sensor drops a new line of code into an app's history log, that is the modern equivalent of writing. You are creating a permanent record, a brand new reality in the world, simply by existing in that physical space.
Think about the aftermath of a totally normal, analog Friday night dinner. The traces you leave behind are strictly physical, right? A few crumbs on the table, maybe some scuff marks on the rug. They are temporary and they are highly local. But today, digital traces are permanent and incredibly expansive. Cloud video files, sensor timestamps, AI behavioral logs. Your house is quietly building a complete digital shadow of your presence, logging all this data that you never actively consented to hand over in that moment. So, how in the world do observant families actually navigate this invisible digital minefield? Well, it takes a really thoughtful audit of the entire home. It turns into this complex mix of workarounds, compromises, and a super strict hierarchy of prioritization. Because you can't just rip all the wiring out of the walls, especially not today. Instead, they have to carefully reverse engineer their environment before the sun even sets on Friday.
And I want to be super clear on this next point, because the legal framework here isn't just some rigid set of rules that completely ignores human well-being. There is this foundational principle called pikuach nefesh. Basically, it dictates that saving a human life overrides almost every other religious restriction. When there is a real danger, the rules of Shabbat gracefully step completely aside to preserve life. No questions asked.
In practice, this creates a really clear hierarchy of tech needs. Up at the very top, level 3, you have high-priority life-saving tech. We are talking medical monitors, smoke alarms, maybe a continuous glucose tracker for a diabetic child. Those are absolutely permitted. In fact, they are required. Then in the middle, level 2, you've got basic security and access. This gets navigated with some clever compromisers, like using a mechanical key override on an electronic deadbolt. But down at the bottom, level 1, comfort lighting, smart speakers. That is pure convenience. And for Shabbat, those are the very first things to get shut down. To actually solve that comfort lighting issue, a lot of people fall back on a beautifully simple, totally retro piece of tech, the mechanical timer. The mechanical timer is perfectly predictable. You set it Friday afternoon, and it clicks the lights on and off at specific times, completely oblivious to whether a human is actually in the room. It is, frankly, beautifully dumb. Compare that to a smart sensor, which is totally unpredictable. It doesn't care about a schedule, it is just obsessively watching for a human to walk by. For Shabbat, the dumb mechanical timer is a lifesaver because it refuses to turn your physical body into a digital command. Appliance manufacturers have actually picked up on this and engineered some brilliant workarounds. A lot of modern ovens and fridges now have a certified Sabbath mode built right in. When you activate it before the holiday, it temporarily dumbs down the appliance. It silences all those annoying beeps and demands for your attention. It totally disables the digital screens, stops the interior fridge light from kicking on when you open the door, and even delays the compressor so it doesn't react instantly to the drop in temperature. It basically severs that immediate digital reaction to human touch. Now, let's zoom out for a second, because this is where the explainer gets universally relevant for all of us. This is not just some niche religious loophole. It brings up a much broader, deeply important conversation. The universal right to a digital pause. Even if you have zero connection to Shabbat, every single one of us lives in an ecosystem that is constantly monitoring, recording, and trying to optimize our lives. We are all deeply entangled in this invisible interface. There is a profound trap hidden in all this. The trap of the smart home isn't that it's too modern, it's that it's too responsive. The tech industry loves to sell us this idea that ultimate responsiveness equals ultimate luxury, right? But endless convenience actually leads to a total loss of digital agency. When your house anticipates every tiny thing you do, you entirely lose the ability to just be. You can't just exist in your own living room without generating data or triggering some algorithm. So if there is one huge takeaway from all this, it's that true technological maturity isn't just about building artificial intelligence that can anticipate what we want before we want it. Real maturity, genuinely advanced design, is building systems that actually know when to stop watching us. The ultimate smart feature isn't adding yet another infrared sensor. It is restraint. It is the ability for a machine to respect a human's need for silence, for privacy, and for a temporary digital pause.
I'll leave you with this final, kind of provocative thought to chew on. If our modern world is engineered to never, ever stop watching, learning, and reacting to our every single move, when do we as humans ever truly rest? The ancient rules of Shabbat essentially force a hypermodern home to yield to human peace. And honestly, that might be the one feature we all desperately need built into our lives. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this sparked some deep thoughts about the tech you live with every day. Catch you next time.